Hey yo, sorry I haven't posted for a while, but I got a request for just a little brief overview of political theorists or what I'm doing, etc. I also got a request of who the heck Machiavelli was, etc. So I'm just going to give a little overview of who Machiavelli was, what his ideas were, and why anyone cares. Machiavelli, or Niccolo Machiavelli, was a Florentine diplomat, statesman, pretty much just like a general bureaucrat living in the Renaissance. And he lived in Florence, but he worked for a lot of very powerful people, and then he got screwed over by more powerful people, and then he worked for other powerful people. And pretty much his entire life was seeing up close and personal Italian city-state politics right around the time where people shifted their ideas from the church is always right and the state has a divine right to rule to like, hey, wait a second, like people get to decide all this, and like if I have more swords than the other guy, like I should be in charge. I mean, they've done that for millions of years, but it was much more overt and explicit of like, hey, like the church doesn't get to decide who's in charge, like we do. And the thing is, everyone's heard the term Machiavellian, and it's got sort of a negative connotation of lying, weaseling, self-serving, just like scumbag. Right? Like he'll just stop at nothing to get his own ends. That's not really what Machiavelli was putting forth when he wrote The Prince, which is where most of his political theory comes from. Machiavelli had more of a what we would call a realist perspective. Much of the time, political theory is focused on normative theory, or what things should be, what they ought to do, how the state should cultivate morality and warm fuzzies and like good works in the lives of its people. And Machiavelli rejected that. He said that going after the imagination of a thing was insane. You should go after the effectual truth, is the way he put it. So when he wrote The Prince, he was looking at what actually works, the real way to get to power and the real way to hold power in Renaissance Italy. And to do that, he advocated a lot of things that a lot of people might consider not exactly ethical. That's sort of the point. To Machiavelli, the state is amoral. It doesn't have a good or bad. What is good depends on what is helpful to the survival of the state, or what is the benefit of the state, not what is some abstract notion of justice or mercy or law. Like, no. Like, if I have to send spies and spy on my friends and neighbors and allies, do it. If it's going to keep my state more safe, do it. If I have to whack a couple people, hey, if it keeps the state safe, do it. But the thing is, he also didn't say like, well, yeah, you should just be a lying, cheating, weaseling scumbag all the time. Because it's useful to be known as an honest, fair player and to have good friendships with other people. But it was consistently wary and suspicious of other people because, well, if it turns out that your friendship isn't profitable anymore, the other guys are going to turn on you. If they think they can take your city by selling you down the river, they're going to do it. Or, at very least, you should be prepared that they're going to do it. To Machiavelli, the survival of the state was the most important thing you could do. And that was the purpose of the state and the purpose of the ruler. So any or any means employed in protecting the state and making sure that its citizens are safe and secure and relatively happy is justifiable to Machiavelli. Machiavelli had a sort of dim view on human nature. He saw them that they were pretty much sheep. they were very fickle. They were prone to being selfish or self-serving, short-sighted, and doing a lot of dumb things. So what a leader needs to do is to get all those little sheep, or just the unwashed masses, or the people that don't really know what they want, but they don't really know what they don't want either, and to get them to work for their own best interest, whether they realize it or not. And so it's sort of like a sheepdog rounding up the sheep. It's like the sheep don't really want to do what the sheepdog barks at them, but at the end, it actually works out better for the sheep anyway, right? And Machiavelli was all about power, like, because that's the way you keep people safe, especially when you're a little city state. It is really important to know how much power the other guy has and how much power you have. And how you define power is difficult. It's not explicitly laid out. Back in the day, it was more of like, well, how many men can you muster? How many swords do you have? How many walls do you have? How many towns do you control? How far can you march? Does the Pope support you? Do you have a navy? Stuff like that. Now, power is a lot more difficult to nail down. It's like, well, but there's cultural power and there's economic power. And they all affected Machiavelli's views, but not nearly as much as just like raw military and diplomatic clout. He drew a lot from the Venetians, the Medicis, and the French, which all were running around Italy during the time and generally messing things up for anyone that they didn't like. I don't know, like, this is a very basic overview of Machiavelli's ideas. To sum up, Machiavelli doesn't think that the state should get involved with right and wrong, but more of like, is it useful? Is it necessary? Will it be successful? To him, utility is more important than morality. And he has a famous, the ends justify the means, and it is better to be feared than to be loved. And a lot of times those get taken out of context. Ends justify the means is what I already explained of, like the state is amoral. It doesn't have a right and wrong. It has, is it efficacious? Is it, like, will it help the people or not? If it helps the people, it's good. If it doesn't, it's bad. And the end, or it's better to be feared than to be loved, is basically a comment on human nature. Men will love who they want to love, but you can pretty well determine whether they fear you or not. They can still love you, but you get to control whether they fear you or not by being swift or just, strong, powerful, just generally a bad dude. And like, people will be scared of you, and when they are scared of you, they're much more likely to do what you tell them, or to be nice little citizens that don't make a bunch of noise. So yeah, I don't know, like, to Machiavelli, being a strong and effective ruler was better than being a good or a moral ruler, because to him, that was what a good or a moral ruler was strong and effective. So Machiavellian isn't just like evil scumbag, but it is rejecting the notion of, oh, let's make a fairy tale world and dream of unicorns that make every problem go away. So, no, let's deal with the real world and the real solutions that we have to make our people safe. And like, that's the main goal, and all is fair. Like, anything's fair game. If in the end it makes the state better and the people safe and happy, totally justified. And that gets, I don't know, leads to a lot of problems, but hey, he doesn't really care. I suppose that's all for the political theory. If you want to know a very short biography, is, I don't know, he was either a lawyer, son of a lawyer. He studied at a university and became a minor government official, and then he was being a diplomat for a couple of years. And then he came back and served the Medicis for a while. Wait, no. He was imprisoned by the Medicis, tortured by them, and then retired. Sort of like, you're retired, dude. And then when he was in forced retirement, he's like, well, like, I'm going to write down everything I learned ever. And that's when he wrote The Prince and other things like The Republic and all those. He tried doing his weasel tricks to get back in good with the Medicis, but it didn't really work. They never really trusted him. And then when the Medici were overthrown, the new government didn't trust him because he had tried so hard to get in good with the Medici. So like, no, dude, like, we don't trust you because you were friends with them. It's like, no, like, I just wanted to, like, get my job back, like, I didn't really. And they're like, no. So then he just sort of withered away, alone. Well, he wasn't like alone, but he didn't really do anything important after that. And I guess that's the end. Let me know who you want to get talked about next, because I don't know, I do this every day. It's fun stuff. Thanks, y'all. Any questions, let me know. Bye-bye.